Hi guys, welcome back. So I'm just gonna replace this kitchen here. Nothing says home equity like a new kitchen, and I believe a lot of people think that way. Well, actually, these are brand new doors, shaker style doors that I built for this kitchen about 3 years ago. And new doors is fine, but you can just see not really the best. The biggest problem too with a kitchen this old is this kitchen would have been built in place, so you would have like your plywood shelves that run throughout. That's like a dead giveaway that this kitchen is like extremely old and outdated. Be as old as 1950s, as old as the property is. So this is a rental unit, so I'm not going to go with a brand new kitchen. I'll get into that later on in the video. But basically I bought a secondhand kitchen, which is a raised face maple kitchen. And it's going to be a substantial upgrade to the painted built-in place kitchen that is currently here. So yeah, I just want to kind of show you this kitchen and the problems with it. One of the main problems is obviously there's no hood fan. Hood fans, they would provide light when you're cooking, and the main purpose is to extract all of the cooking smoke and smells outside. So this is a problem here as well. So this is kind of funny the way they designed this, right? You got your double door with a piano hinge in the middle, and again too, just very, very awkward to use and not very functional. New kitchen would have a corner with a door that comes across on a nice 45, and we'll see that once I'm done here. And then again, moving to this side, this is your main cabinet that would, if you get the double doors, this would be the number one cabinet where you keep all your dishes in, typically. And again, too, it's not much of a box, right? It's old and outdated. Same thing with the lowers, just all around very, very old. These are just dummies here. What else can I show you? That's about it, really. This was an upgrade I did a few years ago too, just putting a Lazy Susan in. And I can actually probably put this Lazy Susan into a new cabinet once I get to that point. So yeah, that's pretty well it. Okay, so we have the first cabinet in, corner cabinet. This one, heavy and very awkward. That's why I have so much of this ugly dunnage or blocking here underneath supporting it up. Usually I would build like a nicer looking stand to sit it on, but since it was so heavy and awkward, I just kind of put a couple boards under one side, tilted it back, put boards under the other side, kind of like teetered it all the way up into place. And now I just have to level it off and shim it where I need to, because this house, again, it's 1950s, so maybe the walls are not all 100% level anymore. They're not. They've gone out of square a little bit. That's the gist of it. I'm just taking my time and marking out exactly where the studs are. And I'm gonna actually double check where the studs are above it in the bulkhead. So I'll run some screws in, because when you run a screw in, you can tell exactly if you're into the meat of the wood, right? So I'll double check it up here, and then I'll double check it on this side too, because I want to hit one stud on the back side here and one stud on this wall here. And then yeah, level it off, screw it in, and then continue on with the next cabinets down this way. I'm pretty happy with it so far. It just has an update here. This is the 5-inch vent from the range hood. Takes the cooking air outside. So it's important, I had to add about 8 inches on to the end of this 5-foot length you can see here. Well, you might not be able to see it on camera, but basically I had to add a little putt piece. So the most important thing is you have to tape your joints. I wouldn't recommend using screws from what I can tell, screws are anything that penetrates the inside of the pipe is just basically an obstruction, creates an obstruction that grease and cooking oils and stuff would grab onto the screws. I know for the gas codes as well, if you're doing like a dryer vent on a gas dryer, that it says in the code too not to have screws going through the piping. So that's why I would just use the foil tape. This is actual foil tape rated for high temperatures as well. And you can buy this at any big box store around the second time. But yeah, that's nice and solid. So I will tape every joint. Like I have a 90 coming down here as well. And I'll put this in here and I'll tape every joint. It's very important. And also, another trick I learned is you should insulate it. So this is just insulation, pipe insulation. Well, not really pipe, it's duct insulation. So I was told from a journeyman sheet metal mechanic that you should insulate the first 10 feet of piping through any penetration through an exterior wall. So I would check on local codes to see what the codes are. It could be different in different parts of Canada. I know insulating ducting that goes through a wall is probably a good idea in almost every jurisdiction, just based on you're never going to get that perfect seal on your vent that goes through the wall. This one I have here, you can't really see it because it's up there in the wall, but where it goes through, it's just a plastic flapper that's kind of based like this, right? It just opens when you turn the fan on, it'll open it like this, and then gravity fed closed. But it doesn't matter how good of a vent you have going through the wall, you'll always have a little bit of air seepage. And here where we live, in the wintertime, it gets down to minus 20, minus 30 degrees Celsius. But that temperature with a little bit of air gap, you'll always get that cold air coming back through this pipe. So insulating the pipe is just such a good idea to prevent any sort of condensation. And it's condensation and heat loss as well. So that's why I took the necessary step again to insulate. I have done it before where I've stuffed insulation in like a bulkhead like this, but I think that the most professional thing to do is just to get this insulation. And this stuff is cheap too, by the way. I think it was $10 or $15 for 12 feet. So I'll put this on right now, and then I'm gonna put a bracket up in the bulkhead to hold the pipe, because you wanna run this piping level as well. Up here, level is the best way to run it. And there's a seam on this pipe too, right? It's not seamless. There's a seam on this 5-inch duct. So I'll put the seam on the top and run it level, and then 90 it down into the hood vent. Let's go in here, and that's it. Okay, so as an update, as you can see, we got this cabinet with the range, brand new stainless steel range hood, and then the next cabinet going up is the one above the fridge. The reason for this gap here too is again, this kitchen was a used kitchen, so I saved like thousands of dollars buying a used kitchen. So the problem with a used kitchen is sometimes the cabinets don't align 100%. So what I will do eventually is rebuild this cabinet and bring this up. But for the time being, here I can just show you the doors. For the time being, it will, the doors will line up perfectly. So when the doors are closed, you will see, you won't notice that cabinet's a little short. I'll just build a little, kind of like plywood box and stain it nicely just to fill in that. It's just a 4-inch gap above it. It won't be too big of a deal. But yeah, so I'm kind of have to improvise just to make the kitchen work. I had to follow the codes as well. The recommendation for the height difference for above a range hood is 20 to 24, and this one now is at 21 and a half. I like it now. It's a perfect height. So anyways, you can see the vent piping here with the insulation. This is a little bracket I was saying. It's just all round, which is this. So this is all around. It's just basically comes in a pack. It works really well. So I have that pipe insulated all the way out the wall and supported and running level. And I have my hood fan installed. And now this is the transition piece. I think this is 3 1/4 by 5 inch. So this is the last piece that'll go up and tie in. And also, the hood fan is wired up. I wanted to make sure it's working really properly here. So as you see, I'll turn it on right now and it's super quiet. And I know it's working well because there's a little flapper up here. You can just see, can you see the flapper?
One.
So I want to double check that this brand new range hood works 100% before I put the final ductwork in. So as you see, I'll just turn it on low, which is, there's a switch underneath here. And as you watch up here, there is a built-in flapper as well, and you see it open. It opens pretty well all the way as it's sucking the air out, right? And then if I switch it on high, which I'll do right now, you'll see it'll open up even more. And it's really moving a lot of air. And then as I close it, this will close perfectly as well, especially once this boot is on here. Because once the, well, I'm calling it a boot, but it's actually a reducer duct fitting. But once it's on here, it won't actually allow this, it won't allow this flapper to open all the way. It'll only go vertical rather than past vertical, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just want to make sure that everything is 100% before I put this last pipe in here. And I just want to make sure it's all sealed up really well and it's all lined up. It's all nice and centered and it's perfect before I put it together. So just as an update here, this is the next day. This is the last cabinet I have going up on the verticals. I'll give you an update and kind of pan around and show you more a little later on. But basically, I just want to make sure I'm giving some good advice here in case anyone can use this advice basically. So I just found this stud. The biggest thing is, again, we need to screw these into the studs. So these holes here in the wall are from the old cabinet that I pulled out. So they would have been like 3-inch nails that were in place into the stud. So I just want to verify that that is in fact the stud. So all I'm doing is taking my screw and going in an existing hole. And when I screw it in, you can tell that it's in the, you can tell by how the drill is kind of lagging a little bit. Also, if you pull on it really hard, maybe you want to grab a pair of pliers even too. Because you just want to really 100% make sure that this is the stud, right? So I'm pulling pretty hard on that. And I can just tell from what I explained that that is the stud. So now that I've verified that, then I've marked my holes out in this cabinet here, in this box, and I pre-drilled my holes and I got my screws already started here. And then now I just lift it up in place and I've got a temporary support underneath. Again, these are the existing cabinets underneath and the existing countertops, so that kind of works well in this situation. If everything was removed, cut some wood down to the floor, right down to the tile or whatever the floor is. But yeah, I set this here, and then I can kind of lift this in. If you have a set of hands, that's always good too, but you can't do it yourself. And then lift it up, and then set it down on the block, and then you can kind of work it. Now I've just used my left hand to kind of just hold it against the other cabinet, which I've already screwed in. And then you got your right hand free to just drill the screws in. I noticed this one's not quite lined up 100%. It needs to go up a little bit, so I'll probably have to take it down and shim it up. It's a lot of trial and error, but the biggest thing again is making sure it's level. I recommend 2-foot level always. Check the sides, check the front, Are you always going to get it 100% in a kitchen that's this old? Maybe not, but do the best we can. And like I said, I think before, you can shim them on the back, shim it on the sides a little bit if you have to. That's it. I screw this in, and again, this is only one set of screws down. I'll probably screw these cabinets together as well, just for some added strength. But with the 3 screws into the stud, and then maybe 3 screws into the side, into this cabinet beside it, it's not going anywhere. So, okay, so I got all the lowers in here, as you can see. It's really nice because I got a bank of 4 drawers here, and then I have 4 drawers on this side. And again, this whole entire kitchen is a used kitchen, so that's why these drawers here are kind of a flat panel maple, and these are more of a shaker style door. So it is a little bit mix and match, but that's how I can keep my cost so low. And yeah, we finished up the backsplash here yesterday. This is a marble tile backsplash. It's still not 100% clean yet, but we got, as you can see, it's still got some grout to kind of clean off, but the backsplash is done and the lowers are in, and now I'm putting the countertop back in, kitchen sink's going in, and then we have to paint this upper bulkhead that I built too. I'm gonna try to fill in the seams a little bit with some drywall mud. I'm gonna do that today, and then we'll hopefully paint tomorrow. And then put the doors on the tops, clean it up, and it should be good to go. One piece of advice I can really pass along about the lowers is always start at one end. So I had in this kitchen, as you can see, the floor is ceramic tile. So for whatever reason, I think when they put the floor down, they must have used more mortar on this side, because this side of the kitchen was tend to have been higher by about 3/4 of an inch. So this cabinet would have been 3/4 of an inch higher than this cabinet. So how I fixed that was in the base. Underneath, I built the base up that 3/4 of an inch. You can kind of see, I got like even some shims here on these end too that I have to trim off. But because yeah, it has to be 100% level this way, and then front to back has to be bang on level. That's just really important for the countertops and aesthetics and everything really. The tops were, I actually found putting the tops in the upper story is a lot easier. It was a lot quicker, just because screwing them into the studs is pretty straightforward. Whereas the lowers, it was a lot of leveling off and squaring off. And because my place is a lot older, you know, you're dealing with, like I said, the floor is just a little bit sloped due to the way they did the ceramic tile. And again, they did this before I bought the place. Okay, as a final update here, I got the kitchen installed. I'm very happy with it. I calculated my hours to be approximately 110 to 120 labor hours. I would say the bulk of the work was actually completing this bulkhead, because since we went to a new kitchen with a nice angled cover, and then I had to angle the bulkhead across. The shelving unit wasn't here before, so I had to extend the bulkhead out, fit this all up properly. Everything went in really well. Everything is level. Countertops are perfectly level both ways. It's very important that the countertops are level. Had to re-level the stove off both ways again, and also re-level the fridge. So everything is sitting perfectly. The drawers all open and closed really nicely. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. The biggest upgrade is the range hood, as the old kitchen never had a range hood, so I can't recommend a range hood enough. And this one is vented outside, which I'm gonna have a separate video just explaining the venting part of it. Just some tips and tricks for the venting, because the venting is very important. And yeah, that's it. The lights are beautiful. We got LED lights under here, as you can see when you're cooking now. You got light, and you got the ability to exhaust the fumes from cooking. So thanks for watching, guys, and please like and subscribe.